Today we're with Jake Bettencourt at Turlock Livestock Auction Yard just outside Turlock, California. Jake has been helping grow the video auction business here at Turlock Livestock, and he's going to tell us a little bit about that today. Jake, welcome to DairyBusiness.com.
Thank you,
and
Joel.
just give us a quick take on to get us started.
Sure. We offer a dairy video sale the first Friday of every month. Our focus is marketing top quality dairy females from all parts of the country to all parts of the country, and a very seamless and easy process for both the buyers and sellers.
Jake, you told me that you got started in this by working with a good registered herd dispersal up in the northern part of the state. Talk a little bit about how you first tried the video activity.
Yeah, it was. We were doing a herd dispersal for the Michael Ranch. Was a outstanding Holstein herd with a lot of registered high pedigree animals in the herd, and because of the number of cows that we were selling, the video format just made a lot of sense for the buyers as well as the seller, and most importantly for the cattle. That would have been our first experience with doing any type of a video sale where we actually shot the film and produced all the film and movies, and that was really our first chance, our first opportunity at it. Went very well. Sale was successful. Buyers were pretty complimentary of the format and how the film was shot and how the cattle were represented.
You've talked about in our conversation earlier that the quality of the cattle is really important in a video, and even the reputation of the consigners is a helpful thing.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about that aspect of your video work.
You know, I hate to start to answer a question in a negative way, but I certainly assume most potential buyers are cynical and have questions about buying dairy cattle on a video sale. We try and take as many of those questions out of a potential buyer's mind and put them at ease. Transparency is something that we really focus on. So the quality of the cattle is very important, as well as the quality and the reputation of the seller. Knowing that you're getting good quality cattle from a good quality home. Cattle are going to come with all the records as well, coming out of a good facility, and they're going to perform for you when they get there. So I think that the quality of the cattle that you're selling and merchandising, as well as the producer you're selling them for, is very important.
Jake, you provide pretty good service to consigners. The video sale might sound like it's a little bit hands-off, but that's not really the case. Talk about your procedure, how you work with consigners, how you work with their cattle.
It's actually incredibly hands-on. For example, tomorrow we're headed out to sort a load and film a load for the June sale. So when we get to the farm, customer will meet us there. We'll take a look at the cattle. We'll put a good sort on them. Obviously, anything that doesn't fit or isn't perfect is not going to be in the group. In this particular case, they'd be Jersey spring and heifers, so we get 50 of those on a truck. We'll get them sorted down to 60, 55 or 60, so there's plenty for the potential buyer or the successful buyer to come to the shipment and put the final sort on them themselves. Once we have those cattle sorted as we want them before the sale, we'll get some good film on them. We'll get all the information on them, whether it's Dairy Comp or Provo. We'll get all the records, so we have that in the catalog. And then we bring that information back to the office here and make the sale film and make the catalog.
Of course, one of the benefits to sellers and perhaps to your organization is the fact that you can attract buyers from farther afield than when you're just selling cattle right through the ring here
Certainly.
in Turlock. Tell us about how the geography has worked and how you got that reputation started to attract folks from farther afield.
Certainly, and you know, Joel, not to take away from the question, but you know, there's still a very viable service in walking cattle through a sale ring on a weekly basis, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 at a time. But especially when you're handling lactating animals, being able to take them straight from the seller to the buyer is much more of a seamless process, a lot less stress on the cattle. And it has opened up our geography significantly in the fact that these animals can travel, always keep their welfare in mind, but it's a lot easier for them to travel when they're only getting on the truck once. And it seems that the further we move into different parts of the country, either attracting a buyer or a seller, you can almost draw a circle around that area and know that in the coming weeks or months we're gonna end up with more interest out of that particular geographic area. Oftentimes we'll get calls from, let's say, somewhere in the Midwest or upper Midwest, guys looking for cattle, and they'll look at our catalog and say, well, there's some really nice cattle in there, but they really just don't fit for us because the freight's going to be too far. But as you get that kind of interest and start getting consignments from that part of the country, you can certainly call those guys up and let them know that, hey, we've got some really good cattle and they're only a few hours from you, might fit your program.
Sure. You talked about your work with the Livestock Marketing Association,
Mm-hmm.
your auction yards trade group that works nationally, of course. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about the software and the fact that you've recently moved to click to bid, where previously you were doing phone work. Mm-hmm. Talk about kind of how the technology works.
Well, the LMAauctions.com software is very simple. At least for the user, for someone to either view. Sometimes consigners want to view their cattle being sold if they can't be here. Certainly the buyers want to view it. It's a pretty simple process for the buyer. Obviously they can do it from their phone on the road. They can do it from their office. They can do it from a tractor if they're of the mind. But it works very easy. As long as you get signed up and approved, ask you to be signed up so we can approve you before the sale. We also do offer phone bidding. We have a phone bank that day. You can be watching the sale live if you prefer to talk to someone on the telephone. But the LMAauctions.com site is pretty user-friendly. It's easy to use, and the folks at Livestock Marketing Association are very important part of our business as far as what they do for us on a daily basis, besides just the internet auction software.
Some of our viewers, no doubt, have long experience in the beef business, and the beef folks have been doing this for a long time. Talk about how you group these cattle. You provide efficient buying for folks who want to buy truckload lots. Kind of what are your target numbers for your consigners these days?
Sure. Obviously, as you mentioned, the video sale format in the beef industry, and especially the feeder and stocker part of the business, is something that's been going on for years and years. And some of the larger video markets in the country have pretty near perfected it, I guess you'd say. Obviously, in the dairy industry, it's a little bit different. We have to, sometimes we are a little bit more limited on time constraints, especially with fresh animals. You want to make sure you get the film shot as close to the sale as possible to represent them accurately. But the target would be semi-load lots, so with like some Jersey fresh heifers, you're talking about 50 head or so. Holstein fresh animals, you're looking at 35. But it's an incredibly efficient process for potential buyers all over the country to not have to be worried about seeing if they have a load or ending up with a half a load of cattle somewhere else in the country and trying to finish that load. 90% of our consignments are strictly semi-load lots. And again, we do offer 5 to 10% extra in each consignment if the buyer chooses to come to the shipment, as we do encourage them to do. They kind of have the right to put the finishing touch and the final sort on the cattle that they purchased. We have recently just started offering some more half-load lots. That's a little bit more on a local basis, within 100 to 150 miles. And I think that's also an important tool to keep everybody involved on the buying and selling side.